This is the second part of our discussion with Patrick Namulisa. So let's start. Maybe here again, because some of our listeners would be doing their bachelor or master, but they are planning to do their PhD in the future. And some of the PhD students, it would be maybe useful for them to know. So before their application or after they submitted their application, when they want to reach out to the supervisor, how they can do it. How would you describe the email, or could you?
Yeah, I mean, it's always emails. You have your email address, use it. What is very great is that almost all the professors now, they have a web page, either their personal websites for their lab or the university websites where they describe what they do, and at least you have access to them. Most of them, they have a personal web page where you have access to their work, current projects, past projects, what they are doing, what they like to do, who is working with them, who is the postdoc in the lab, who is the PhD student in the lab, who is the master student in the lab, who is the bachelor student, who is the lab technician, their contacts. Reach out to them. Discuss, because they're also looking for students continuously to run the projects.
Okay. In your situation, how did that happen? How did you reach out to professors or your supervisor, and how was the process? And if you had any discussion, how was it, or how did you write your email? And
so I think
was it before application or after application?
Always before. I mean, application is very demanding. Filling an application at Columbia, it takes you almost 1 month to complete. For me, you can finish in 1 day if you want, but for me, it takes 1 month because I'm busy with my studies as well. But you also have so much to do. Sometimes you have to pay application fees. In the US, there is application fees. There is ways to get application fee waivers if you are qualified, but most of the time also you may end up still paying. There are exams that may be required to do English proficiencies. For someone like me coming from a French-speaking country, you have to do exams and stuff. So you want to go through the process earlier. But there again, what's the points about stressing yourself for 1-2 months applying to a school where you won't find anyone to work with? This is why you have to start first with seeing who you want to work with. Try to reach out to them. Send an email brief. Dear Professor Nazerke Amangeldy, I hope my emails find you well and safe. My name is Patrick Namulisa from Congo DRC, currently a master student in Soils and Global Change, which is a joint program between Ghent University in Belgium, Boku Vienna in Austria, and University of Göttingen, and fully funded by Erasmus Mondo Scholarship. Currently, I'm working on projects on warm compost and biochar combination, and this project is part of a bigger project, AGP Soils, where they are looking for carbon sequestrations and sustainability ways from agro-ecosystems and stuff. I'm reaching out because your interest, your work on carbon sequestration, soils, carbon, and global change is very interesting to me and matches my interest in this and this and this. I was willing that I wanted to ask, are you planning to take PhD students for next intake, let's say fall 2023? If yes, is it possible to schedule a brief Zoom call to just discuss ideas and potential to work with you? Please let me know. You may be willing to say we can do this Zoom or continue over email depending on his availability. Please let me know. I'm attaching my CV for further information. Best regards, Patrick. Send the email.
Again, at this time, before you sending the email, you should already have been knowing everything about the person who you are writing.
Yes, because if you send me an email and you say that's a work on carbon exploration in the oceans, and I do carbon sequestration on tropical ecosystems, I'll be like, you didn't do your homework. So they have to feel that this email is not a generic email you are sending to every professor in the world. They want to feel that you know who you are talking to, you've seen their work. And then after this, they may be now, okay, fine. So if they are willing to take students, most of the time, many people don't reply. It's crazy, they are busy and they don't reply. I was lucky, I received many feedback. And we schedule Zoom call. Maybe like, yes, I'm willing to talk. Yeah, it looks like our interests overlap. I'm willing to talk. How about next Tuesday at 4 p.m.?
Did you had a Zoom talk?
I have more than maybe 10 Zoom calls with 10 different professors. I'm trying to find the right mentor for me. And once you meet them, you may find some that are very interesting. For me, it was key. The professors, the vibes, their work, what they are doing, how they plan to mentor me, their mentoring style, but also the programs. I met some very amazing professors, but when we discussed about their program, I didn't feel great. I wanted to do a program that I have guaranteed funding for all my PhD program. In the US, it's not always obvious. In Europe, when you are accepted, the project is funded, you have your salary, you have everything for the 3-4 years. In the US, sometimes you are only funded for the first 2 years, and the 3 remaining, they tell you that's where with your advisor, you'll apply for funding and then you find your further work. But sometimes as an international, you may have limitation to get the money. And this puts you in a situation that you have to do much teaching work to the department to get money to live. And this, if you are doing more teaching work, it means you are doing less research work. And it means you take more time and more stress and stuff. So I wanted to be at peace with myself about money. So you meet good professor, but the system, they tell you, well, we'll have only money for 2 years. I know. Thank you very much for connecting, but this is not the right place for me. And so on. There are many questions you may find. The system is not all right. They don't have a clear mentoring for you, or there is something that doesn't work. Yeah.
Also, I want to mention here that it's not about that we are chasing the money. Having the foundation till the end of your PhD is very important, because you would be working at lab, you would be writing papers, publishing papers, and at the same time, there would be more. Maybe you would be teaching, but you would learn. You wouldn't be stressing out yourself at this position.
I think people don't speak about money openly, but this is a topic to always raise. The key example is, as an Erasmus-funded master student, I feel that I can relax when I'm moving to this city to this other without so much pressure, because I know that I'll receive my stipend every month and it's enough for me to live. I'm not getting rich. I'm living really as a student, but at least it's enough. Imagine only if I didn't have this money and that I have to find a job, a student job in every city. When you arrive in a new city where they speak a language you don't speak, it can be very stressing for you to get a job in the beginning. And if this stress adds to the school stress, it's very hard. If you are a PhD student, very stressed and working hard on your projects, but you still have to worry about the food you'll have. Will I have food today? You have to go work on student job, deliver pizza and stuff. This time you are delivering pizza was time either for you to rest or work, and you are not working on your PhD. It will be more stressful. Some people achieve this, but I'm not recommending this to anyone. So
not many people have that much energy.
Yeah. So I'm not recommending this at all. Gladly, most PhD offers, they always have this financial stuff, but always assess this. And it's not about getting rich. Obviously, you won't get rich with your students' money, but just get enough. Just get enough to have your rents paid, to have food on the table, to have your insurance, medical insurance and stuff. And, you can live with peace in any place you are.
So I think again, I will just summarize before you submit for our listeners. Before you submit your application, it's good that you reach out to professors again, try to ask them more questions, which worries you, which would try also to think about your life after 5 or 4 years also, because PhD is not a joke. Okay, now you are just thinking, all right, I don't know what I'm going to do. I will just apply for master. After master, you do the same for PhD. But what you're going to do after PhD, you would do the same. Like, okay, I don't know what I'm going to do. I will just do the postdoc. So I think it's very important what you said again, understanding how you have the passion for science and also why you want to become or why you want to do a PhD. Please also do your homework. And for PhD motivation letter, it could be 2 pages, but if you could summarize more, it would be, if it was very short, it's also very important, because imagine yourself reading that letter and how much sentence would you skip and how much sentence would you leave, pay attention more. So try to be very precise. Being precise is a key tool, actually. So I think it will be very interesting to know for many of our listeners, specifically for those who want to become a PhD candidates, how to prepare for an interview. Can you share with your experience? I'm sure any advice of yours would be very valuable for students who want to do their PhD.
Well, interviews are one of the biggest steps with PhD. I did interviews for many of the positions that I applied.
How many? Could you count them?
So as of now, I think I've done maybe 10 interviews. So some schools, and you even apply to some schools that requires to do more than 1, 2, 3, 4 interviews at the same school. But what I want to say here is you gain more confidence. Again, when you reach out to professors before, you meet informally. It's just about feeling if you vibe. He's doing the same, you are doing the same. He's feeling if you're interested. He's asking questions about your personal background, your academic background. When you meet the professors, he can learn more than what you wrote on your CV, because he's asking questions, 30 minutes asking questions, discussing, you're asking questions, learning more than what is on the website or his CV. And then after this, you get used to the person. You're like, we met already, we connected. So when it comes to interviews, it's obviously the same. You cannot just come to interview. You have to prepare. And preparing, most of the schools, in the US systems, they will send you an email invitation for interview, either just to announce you that you are getting invited for interview, and then few days before interview, sending you the schedule, who you'll meet and how it will be. Or they send the invitation with every details about who you'll be meeting. It means that most of the time it's 1-by-1 interviews. So you have some common programs, maybe for department to introduce you, but you have more program with the professor 1-by-1. They tell you the name, and these people, they are not necessarily in your field. They may be in any field. They are professors in the department. What you have to do is to read, to get to know who's the person. See their webpage. Read at least the abstracts of 2 papers of there. Know what is their work, because you want to chat with them. And I will say this here, it's a red flag if while doing your interview, you feel like you are doing an exams, like they are quizzing you. They always have to put you in a situation that you relax. It should be, looks like an informal chat, but always stay professional. Because, they are assessing you. You won't be the only one they are interviewing. They will assess different people, and the best will be selected. And so you discuss with them, know what they are doing, prepare yourself. know that they will ask you about your past research experience, your past academic, professional, if you have professional. They'll ask you about your interests, what you want to do in the PhD work, what are your goals and your expectation. You'll discuss more what you said in your motivation letter. And in discussing, it may be even more demanding. So there are some generic questions. Tell us about yourself. The way you introduce yourself is really something different. It's not like, well, my name is Patrick and that's all. I come from Congo. I'm doing masters. You have to sell yourself. And most of people fail on the interview because of the confidence. You lose temper, you lose confidence, and you are speaking with pressure. And they're like, you'll be my colleague. We are recruiting you to join the department. You'll be my colleague in few months. And you are unable to speak to me. So how will you communicate when you have problems here? Because you'll have problems with your material in your PhD work. You'll lose some stuff. You may have problem with samples. How will you communicate with them? So they want to see that you understand that they're just human and you want to chat to get to know each other more. I met one professor and they told me this. I'm sharing this to our listeners so they know. They say, if you are invited for interview, it means that you deserve your place here. And it means that at this stage, but the only thing is that you are not the only one deserving the place. So you'll be 3-4 people for one place. So now make sure that you show this confidence, because if they call you because on paper, you are the right person, but they want to see it. They want to feel the vibe. If you bring the vibe they want in their departments, if you are not professional, if you are not polite, you're speaking to people like, I don't know, they'll be like, well, I don't feel that you have a professional manner for someone that is willing to go to this higher level and come to the department.
Here, I think also important to mention that while you are preparing for an interview, it's very important to just check out your motivation letter, read it again, what you wrote there, and also make sure, it's very important, that your email which you are giving is your either academic email or the student email. It can also be personal email, but make sure that you check frequently the email which you're giving and also read your motivation letter which you sent them.
Yeah, I mean, and this makes even more sense when you apply to different programs, because even if they are in the same interest, you always have to adapt it to the program you're applying to, the university you're applying for. So if you come and you start saying something I did one mistake. I sent an email to someone and they didn't reply. Few days after, I sent them a reminder. But this reminder, I have a model of an email of a reminder that I took this model. And I don't know, I was just typing, but this was right after I'm meeting with one professor for this university. So this was so fresh in my head, this university. And typing, I did a mistake and I said, are you taking student in your lab? It's this university. And I put the university that was in my head, not their university. They replied to me, hi, thank you very much for reaching out, but I'm not at this university.
It happens. It's also happened with me. When I was sending my recommendation letter, I actually forgot to erase the name of other university, which I put it in there. So I basically sent recommendation letter, my referees, but if you open the recommendation letter, there is different university name.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you see, with this problem, the professor replied to this email with a mistake, saying to me, I'm not at this university. And I apologize. I say, I'm sorry. I didn't really I'm sorry for this, but they never reply to my main interest. So always pay attention while doing the work. Sometimes it can be overwhelming, but always pay attention to the details to avoid mistakes, to avoid calling a doctor miss. Especially many people do this with women.
I think here it's important that we precise. Let's end this discussion. How to address professors, doctors, or whatever.
So professors and lecturers, like, they have different titles. There are some that are assistant professors. They are professors already. There are some that are associate professors. There are some that are full professors. Obviously, when it's full associate professors, try to say professor. It's best, professors. The young professors, they tend to go with doctor of their name. So if they are, when you read on their website, they put doctors, the name, call them doctor. If they put professors, call them professors. The only thing to avoid is sending them an email with their first name only, as if you were colleagues or you knew each other. You don't know each other for this stage. It may change after different communication, but at this stage, you don't know them. Respect, be polite, give the titles, put doctor there. They make, sometimes someone said, please call me Patrick, not Dr. Patrick, and it's all right. Sometimes they sign Patrick and not Dr. Patrick Chito Namulisa, and they expect you next time to say, hi, Patrick, but don't do it. At this stage, you're still reaching out. You're still trying to create collaboration. Don't do that because you don't know the person yet. And after you've discussed more, you get to know each other more, then you may try to improve this.
I think also important here to mention, of course, we among us know already through our experience, but for students who don't know this, if in the website you see that certain professor or doctor put 2 titles or 3 titles, let's say, so which one they should choose? Professor, doctor?
Yeah, I mean, if he's professor, doctor, engineer, it's still professor. So professor is all right. If you want to put all of them, put them. They are official names, but professor is already great. What would be just not good is if he's a professor, doctor, engineer, and you call them by engineer or only by just their name. Some are not even into the titles. They are all right when you call them in their names. But this you don't know. This you don't know, and don't go the risk. I mean, no one will hate you because you put their titles there. They are their own titles, so it's fine. But people can feel very bad about you just because you didn't put them. So don't run the risk. So always try to be more professional. And this is how to do even in the professional platforms. And so this is how you do. Yeah.
Yes. Here again, if you see the title professor and doctor, always go with the highest title, professor. Professor is the highest title, just go with professor. And also, it also happens if in the website they don't have any title, doctor or professor, how they can address the person.
So yeah, sometimes on their own websites, they don't have this, but the university website will always put their position. So they may put Patrick Chito Namulisa, and they say master student, So Professor Ronald Namulisa, for example, he's a professor, associate professor of this in this department. Now you know he's associate. Everywhere else they say Ronald Namulisa, but now you see here is Professor Namulisa. So go with professor. Find their titles. They expect you to find information. So you have to go through the websites of the university and their personal websites to know what is their positions and to address them how we should.
Here again, I just want to come back to our interview situation. How was your interview? Could you just briefly describe how was it?
So my interviews, let's say...
Specifically for the PhD.
Yeah, we said about Columbia. And so at Columbia, the interview system is like many days. Normally, it's like 2 days. Like you go in normal situation, if there were no pandemic, so they invite these selected students to go to New York to visit the university, the campus, the departments, and you have your interviews there. So you meet people face to face, and then you join some departments programs to meet new students there and everything. But because of the pandemic, they organized things online. So you have to meet 5-6 professors, and then you spend 30 minutes with each of them and 1 hour with your PI, your professor, and you discuss with these professors. They ask you questions, and always avoid awkward time. When you are speaking to someone and you lose like 1 minute, no one is talking, like you don't have anything to talk. And this is why you have to study their work, because once they stop, they will always ask you, do you have questions for me? Mm-hmm. Always have questions.
Is it important? Okay, always have questions.
It's not important. It's essential. You have to have questions for them. And these questions can go from everything. It can be about their work, your curiosity. You're not in the obligation to ask everyone about their work. Some, because they are doing something that is very far for what you are doing, discussing their work may be like you have to learn from the basic and they don't have time for this. But if this professor in the department, they know how is it divided for PhD student, the financial aspects, ask them about this. Ask them the questions about the departments.
Is it okay to ask about the financial aspects of the job?
Yes. It's not the first thing to ask, but never finish without asking. At least your PI, you should ask them. Why this question is important? I just addressed the problem that in the US, some school will give you funding for 2 years. And these 2 years, you are taking coursework and you are PhD students. You're preparing your proposal for your PhD research.
Yeah, but I think it's also important that if you already, while you're applying, of course, you have to read the description of the position. And if they're already written about the money, how much you would get, and the funding, please try to avoid this, because I did that mistake. Like in one of my interview, it was also top university, but I failed because avoid also asking, maybe it's my advice, too many questions, because that's the mistake I made. I was asking too many questions.
I mean, questions are great, but what questions? That's a problem. So if you ask me something that is obvious, you have an offer, and on the offer, I say that I'll pay you 100. And then you come, you ask, how much should I pay? And he's like, did you read the offer? I mean, this was on the offer. What is the position will be passed? But on the offer, we said that the position will be passed here in Vienna. Why do you think it will be in Graz or in Linz? It will be here. So they want you to do your homework and then expand the questions from what they already said, from what they didn't say. Ask them, how is life in Vienna? How is it the weather in Vienna, life and stuff? They will tell you, but don't ask, where is it, Vienna? Because you have a map, you have to check. Ask them about the money is tax-free, because sometimes they won't say, or they will say it's gross. But only ask them, like, from your experience, past students, did you have students having problem with these financial aspects? Because I saw that in Vienna, in Austria, you take 40% of tax, for example. They'll be like, the question is not like, how much percent they take from tax, because this you can find online.
Yes, I think here I will also add, my mistake was that the financial, how much money was funded, it was already written in the descriptions, and I forgot to check again the description before we had an interview. So please try to read again the description, try to read again your motivation letter and CV. CV is also important. You have to read it back before you have an interview. It's very important. Every document you send them, read them.
Yes.
Read about the position and know, because they already put the answers for some of the questions.
If you have, when you send your CV, prepare yourself to answer to questions related to anything related to it written on your CV. Is the first thing. Second thing is reading your motivation letters, refresh the ideas that you had when you applied. Also, when you send your transcripts, you may have red flags. You may have one big courses you failed in your first year in university.
Yeah, let's say you are applying for statistics and you got very low scores in statistics. You should have, how can you explain that? We need statistics. Very essential explanation.
We need statistics here, but you look on your transcript, you fail your statistic class. How can you relate? So you have to have explanation for this, and always remember, interview shouldn't be like they are quizzing you. If you feel like they are trying to have you fail, this is a red flag.
one more thing, how you gain confidence.
You gain confidence from yourself first. And the second thing, from the people speaking to you. You feel like they are welcoming you. They are enthusiastic about meeting you. They are relaxed. And they're even helping you to relax. It's all right. It's okay to tell them, I don't know. You know, sometimes one of the big mistakes we do in interview is to lose the time of the interviewer. You don't know, and you try to say everything you may think about to wish like maybe one of this is the right answer. They will find it in they are like, you are just losing my mind. Like, I feel like I'm drunk. So if you don't know, relax. Feel like it's okay to say, I don't know. If you feel like it's not okay with them because you say you don't know, it's a red flag. Because you are not expected to be a god of the knowledge. It's fine to not know something. And even if I was doing one interview and they asking me a question about my own work, and I was like, I didn't even think about this, and I took note of this. This is one way also you can deal with questions you don't know. Sure, don't stammer. Don't just be, oh, I don't know, I'm sorry. No, relax. Say, well, this I don't know. And it's quite very interesting, actually. Can you expand more on this? And you are taking note. I would like to take note on this and try to work on this after, or find these answers after, because I feel like...
Turn I don't know into... Yeah. This is an interesting question. Or this is challenge for me. Next time I will get prepared more in this. Or just try to show them, do not use I don't know word. No, it's no go.
I like to be relaxed, because don't pretend. The thing is about PhD, it's really very different. Because if I get a job, there's some jobs you don't even need people. You just have your task, you run your task and you go. But in PhD, you cannot finish all your samples yourself. Your colleagues will have to help. Your boss will have to help you with the methods, with the ideas. So you have to always feel the vibe with them. And the vibe, this interview is a time for the vibe as well. It's a time where you feel like, when I'll be working for him, if he asks me a question, will I feel all right to tell him, actually, I don't know this. And maybe it's something that you should know, but even if you should know, even if you studied it, you may forget. And it's all right. They don't know everything also. Or don't feel like you have to match them on knowledge. This is a professor. He has 20 years working in this field, plus the time he finished studying. And you are just starting. So how can you match on their knowledge? So it's relaxed, but always, instead of I don't know, put full stop. It's I don't know, but show curiosity.
Yes.
I'm interested.
Exactly.
I want to learn this. I will take note of this.
Yeah, but don't pretend like trying to that you are being the smartest person in the room, or just saying like, when I mean I don't know, just don't try to pretend that you know the things you don't know. Just say, I don't know this, but
It's always obvious and very fascinating. I'll tell you one question. I met one of the professors, someone I respect a lot, and he asking me, from the experience with the pandemic and everything, what did you learn from what we can apply to ecology, to climate change and stuff? And this is a question that it's just you thinking and say what you think. There is no right and wrong answer, but there are wrong way to go to this. And I don't know if he used this question to evaluate the people, but he told me everyone I'm meeting, I'm asking them this question. It means that when you go to interview, you need your confidence to be able to leave the room when they ask you some questions, to have your spirit and mind leaving the room to analyze the big picture and discuss your ideas without feeling the complete, like you are confined in a small box and you have to, they say this A, you say B, C, D, A. No. You have to just, sometimes it will be not like that. It will require you to think and process your ideas and then speak out. And this is where you have to really pay attention and relax in the interview. If you know everything, it's a red flag. Someone asking you and you feel like you want to be the smartest person in the room, you'll be the same in the lab. You'll be even smarter than me on my own project. So they'll be like,
just know that you're going to work with those people for 4 or 5 years, and telling or lying doesn't worth it.
Yeah, it doesn't. Most people do this. Many people, not most, sorry, but many people, they feel like you have to be the person they are looking for. It's all right. But they also have to be the person you are looking for. There is one aspect of interview we didn't speak much about, is that they are interviewing you, but you are also interviewing them. You have to feel like it's two-way things. You are checking them and they are checking you. Red flags you exhibit, they see this is a red flag. You too should check out on red flags on them.
Like that, let's make it more fun for our listeners to understand. It's more like a dating app. Yeah. It's more like a dating app.
You have to match.
Yes, you have to match. Yeah. It's very important.
It's like not even dating app. I mean, dating app is when you send your application, you match it. Now it's the first meeting. When you say, hey, can we meet for a coffee? Mm-hmm. Now you are meeting on the coffee, and this is the time to start checking the things they didn't read on the app. It's a time to see their mentality. They just say,
you match the photo on your profile?
Yeah, that's the first thing. Like, do you match the photo? You have so much publication, but how supportive are you to your students?
Yes. Do you speak the same as you were speaking or texting?
This
online?
Is the thing. Mm-hmm. This is the thing. Like, are you the only one speaking, or your students also will speak? Mm-hmm. Because you don't want to be on the service of someone that won't promote you. You want to promote someone that is promoting you.
Exactly. There is also important to know that when you're writing, you have so much time. You can erase your mistakes, but when you are speaking with a person, you cannot erase their memory. So you have to keep talking. Yep. And if you made a mistake, you should make them feel that, okay, I made here a mistake. Let me fix it.
I mean, just be human and expect them to be human. If they are not being human with you.
It's not an exam.
It's not an exam. It's not a quiz. It's relaxed. We are speaking to connect, to get to know each other, but we are not friends. We are colleagues.
You want to get married, or you just want to date the person you are dating for some time. So just make sure that those are the people who you want to be dating, who you want to be spending your day, and who you want to surround you.
Remember, listeners, it was making just this fun using the dating example. But again, this is a professional setting. Be professional with people. They want to see that you're respectful. You also want to see that they're respectful. If someone has been so much successful, they were not born successful. They developed this success throughout time. They should allow you also to go through your own process through success. And if they are not, and they're expecting you to be just like them, well, there is a problem. So when you're doing your interview, relax, prepare well, think, discuss questions, be just like you are conversing with someone about your field. It's really passionate. Like, I enjoyed my interviews because I felt like I'm discussing what I'm doing, what I'm interested with people that know much more than I know. And I could get inputs from them. And this is always the thing. But always remember what you want to achieve and discuss this. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Next is, actually, you are a good friend of mine and we follow each other on social medias. And I remember you some time ago in one of your tweets, like, were complaining your friend or someone who you know on Twitter who got only 10 or 15 words on their reference letters.
Oh, yeah, true. You remember the tweets. So, yeah, that was a friend of mine in Congo, and he was applying for a master's program. And Congo? Yeah, the program, I think, was in Belgium, and he is a junior lecturer in Congo, and he asked the recommendation letter from the head of their school, and they sent him. It was not a reference letter. It was like, we acknowledge that he's working here. And I was like, no one will ever accept you on the basis of this. I mean, this is not a reference letter. It was 15 words. And half of these words were just him, his big titles, and that's all. So again, this put us to discuss reference letters and who to ask your reference letters. Always remember that the professors, they have their name. They have, there are some good people out there that are willing to support students. There are some that are not. Understand the difference.
Yes.
And ask who is you feel is willing to support you.
And also try to make sure that the person who you are submitting as your referee or asking for a reference letter knows you personally. In my case, it was my professors one of my professors from Göttingen University, and we spoke a lot. Like, we had a summer school, so we had a lot of time to speak and get to know each other. So I knew that I would ask that person for a reference letter.
Yeah, so this is the key points. The key points is that the person that should recommend you should be a person that knows you personally, knows what are your goals, what you want to do, and the kind of opportunities you are looking for. This puts them in a situation that they can discuss fairly of you as a person, but also as a potential. You have to put someone that is also able to discuss some of your attributes, either as a researcher or as a student or as a person. And the key things is they should know you.
Yes, I think it's very important because it was summer school, we were working, doing tasks, and they saw how we were working. They saw our abilities, skills, and I think that's very essential.
So for students willing to apply for master's or PhD that will listen this, we want to encourage you to discuss, meet your professors. I mean, they are teaching you some incredible stuff. Go discuss with them. Don't spend your breaks with your friends always. Sometimes it's fine to go meet them and discuss what they are talking about informally. Meet them in their office, discuss about your ideas, your PhD prospects, what kind of ideas you have, and the things you may want to do. Tell them you want to do a PhD. Let them know you want this kind of opportunities. Let them know also that you may be reaching out to them so that they may recommend you. This puts them in a situation that they have far more information than your grades. Sometimes we do the mistakes of asking someone just because we did well in their course, but they don't know you. They just know Chito na Mulisa 19 out of 20. But that's all. They just know you can do well on an exam, but they don't know you as a person. So try to meet them, discuss with them, share your passions, share your interests. It's enough. They want to know that you are really interested because they have a name. This is the thing you want to know. They have a name, they have a reputation. So if they say that they are your covers, they are your reference, they want to know that when you go to the place,
yes,
you won't bring.
Excuse me for interrupting you. I think it's quite logical to know that if you think that the professor knows you well and you are engaging with them, like out of the school or somewhere, like talking about the hobbies or something, I think it's logical that you reach out to them. Also, it's very logical that you don't ask reference letter from someone whose course you failed or you got very low score, because it might be that you have a good relationship. In that case, of course, you can do that. But for the person who doesn't know you and you failed their course or you have a very low score, I think it's not logical to ask that for them.
Yeah, you're right. But I think one of the big mistakes we do with reference letters is that we don't understand much the application processes and what they are looking for. Mm-hmm. These people, they just read your motivation letter. It's so impressive. They see your CV. It's very impressive. But this is just you speaking on your own behalf. Why should they trust you? They just want someone that has a name and a reputation that is backing you up, saying, well, the things she said is true. I can acknowledge that what she said is true. But the point now is that sometimes we do the mistakes because we want big names. this person is a big figure in the field. I want them. Is the head of my program, is the head of my school, is the head of my department. I want their recommendation letter. But again, the key things is that head or not head, they should know you. Because the point is not about, well, if a big name knows you and they give good recommendation, a great recommendation letter for you, that's obviously a great thing. But if big name, they don't know you and they give a poor recommendation letter, the same weight you feel for a good recommendation letter for a big name, the same weight you feel like it's weighs a lot. This is the same, a bad recommendation letter for the big name will weigh a lot. So always balance your stuff. Find the right person. Don't be impressed by their titles. Just find the people that can speak well on your behalf. Yes. And then the rest, you'll have time to convince yourself.
Just always remember that there is no such as good or bad person or good or bad professors. It's depending on the situation and on your subjective view. So thank you so much. So we are very close to the end, and I will just ask very general questions, and I'm sure our listeners got very much information about how to process the application and more information about PhD, motivation letter. So I want to ask you about just general questions, and I want you to answer them briefly. Okay. And let's check your spontaneous answering abilities. So what inspired you to apply for a PhD?
I think it's because of my dream to develop as a researcher. And I felt that this is the right direction to go and to learn, get the skills.
Mm-hmm. I think it's also like, as you mentioned before, like you're talking about your country. Yeah. Okay. What are the best resources that have helped you along the way? Maybe there are books, videos, YouTube channels, movies, or articles which you could suggest.
The best things always is networking, meet people, discuss with people. I spend so much time meeting people and discussing with people on random topics, and you learn so much from meeting people and this. I read a lot. I read leadership books. I read books that challenge me. This is something that I like a lot. You see, the best in this world, the best footballers, they have been playing football from their age 3 or 5. The best people like Nadal, and they have been playing tennis since they are little kids.
Yes, I think it's quite very similar to you are what you eat, you are what you read.
Somehow, yes. These people, they have been doing this for so long, and until now they still have coaches. They still have mentors. What a coach that cannot even do at tennis, even like what Nadal is doing in tennis, what this coach has to teach Nadal. Why Nadal is still listening to them. So you have to have this humility to meet people and learn from them. Get mentors for yourself. Find people that are doing stuff you want to do, and develop connections with them. Have them mentoring you, helping you, answering your questions, directing you. Find the humility in yourself to listen to people when they give you advice, and decide by yourself. But at least you have more voices and you have choices. And this is what you do when you're reading books, is to allow someone to teach you something you don't know. This is what you do when you close your mouth and listen to someone speaking. Not always. It's so sad that I'm speaking while saying this because I have to speak. But it's also great to just shut up and listen to someone speaking, helping you, understanding. Even not they're speaking not to you directly, but you can learn so much from meeting people, listening, reading books, and watching some interesting stuff as well. Yeah.
For the listeners who are saying or thinking that they are bad at networking, or they cannot develop, they don't know how to start networking, I would just say I was a very shy girl, and I would find it very awkward to speak with people, but I was always challenging myself with speaking people and trying to be more open-minded, and challenging myself, I think, was the key tool. So if you're someone who has less confidence, or you think that you are awkward when you're in an environment with different people who you don't know, try, because everything starts from trying. Like, even when you go to play tennis, if you haven't played tennis, you cannot just start playing it. It happens, but it's very rare. So I think it's very important that you keep practicing and keep challenging yourself. So next question is very essential. And I think it's very, very important. And are you excited about your PhD?
Well, this is a great question. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to join the group I'm joining. Great people. I met them already. Really amazing. I'm excited to be joining the department, to be joining Columbia, to the prospect of being in New York City. And this is a very cosmopolitan place with so much people from everywhere in the world. And I'm really excited to be moving next to Columbia and to New York. And I think it should be a great stage for myself as a person, and also as a leader and a researcher. Yeah.
I'm sure that we will meet again in New York or somewhere around the world. Definitely. And have this amazing talk again. Yes, I'm very sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so the following question: where do you want to be in 5 years?
Yeah, well, in 5 years, I'll be preparing to defend my thesis.
A very logical answer. Okay, so moving on the next question. What always calms you down when you are really stressed out and upset?
I think something that is very great is to find time to balance yourself. I was tired 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. I was super tired. And I needed to just cut off everything and spend time with myself. Rest, sleep, enjoy some time with myself without feeling this pressure of having to submit and do this work and this work. I took 1 week off. It's always great to take your time. If you can travel. If you cannot, find some peace time, spend time outside, and try to gather your mind together so that you can give the best of yourself. This is very important, not only in the scientific stuff, but also in the general life. You have to give the best of yourself. And if you have to give the best, you are not always at your best. But when you take some time off, relax, meditate, think about your life, your goals, how far you've been so far. These are some of the stuff that help you reinvigorate yourself and feel some fresh energy. And yeah.
It's also important to note that knowing and finding what are your hobbies or what you like doing outside of the work is very important. And having one thing or hobby that makes you exercise more is also essential, I think. Yes. In my case, jogging works always. And also, I don't like traveling. Like, I don't find it very relaxing or enjoying. Okay. So know how you can enjoy. Like, for me, it's always jogging or just sleeping. I like sleeping. So when I have a good sleep, my mind works the best. So I know that. And traveling makes me more exhausted rather enjoy it. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I think it's very important to.
So the key is just to discover what works with you and do this. Find friends, family, friends. This also work a lot. Spend good time, quality time with people you care about. And yeah.
Mm-hmm. Next question. What scares you the most in life?
Actually, I'm not scared of anything. This is crazy because when you look from where I come from, I should have some stuff scaring me, but I'm not. I'm more positive person. I think this is why it happened. I'm more expecting good stuff to happen.
Why?
Positive.
Why do you think you are not scared of anything?
I think this is also from my faith. Like, I'm a faith person and it's helped me a lot, but also is my personal view, the lenses, the paradigm I see the world with, I don't think that I should be scared of anything. I feel like I should be more confident, learn from my mistakes. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, but just have, what I like the most is to kind of have a big picture of where I'm heading to and feeling like every day I'm doing one step forward, and this helps and I keep focus.
For our listeners, Patrick is not scared of anything. So
I'm not. Yeah.
Next, what advice would you give for your youngest self?
To focus. I spend so much energy distributing myself into so much, splitting myself in so much stuff that I didn't have much time to focus on some stuff. I've been doing good so far. It's great, but I think I've done much more and faster if I would develop this focus. And
to elaborate, focus on what, or focus on everything?
That's the thing. Like, if you decide that this is the direction I want to follow, focus on this direction. It's all right to bring in some new stuff, but they should all follow your direction, the main thing you want to achieve. So sometimes you allow in some stuff and some other things that pull your energy outside of your main goal. So you end up like feeling like you're not giving the best of you to the things you want to achieve. You know where you have to go, but you know also that you keep doing stuff that you cannot bring with you where you have to go. You know, so my younger self will tell them like, focus on your goal. Yeah.
What's your favorite thing about science you love the most?
Curiosity. Curiosity, this ability of just getting a random idea from I don't know where and then just follow it, trying to find how you can assess this idea as a good thing or a bad thing. How can you answer questions? This is something that I like the most about researchers, and I want to learn this. How they do, how they develop this, yeah.
And why?
And why?
Why we are doing this.
Yeah.
Yes, I think I couldn't describe well, as you said, I agree with you. Yeah, it's curiosity. I think it's the most driving thing, like asking questions yourself, challenging yourself, trying to find the answer. And one time, like, you're asking questions and just going there, trying to find the answers, and you realize after some time that you've grown so much, you've learned so much.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So our last question, it's a bit hard. Where and how our listeners can find you online?
So yeah, well, you find me almost everything. I use Facebook, I use Instagram, I use Twitter. So Twitter is one of the big things I use. And you have also my personal websites, my email address, and everything of these, you can find them online, very free.
For our listeners, I just want to note that we will provide all the online social media links for your profile on Instagram and your website. Yeah. So you can find it in our link below.
Yeah, it's really like fine for me if you want to reach out to discuss anything about science, life, applications. I'm really open to chats. I discuss a lot with people with this, and we try to see what we can do together or how I can help. Yeah.
For those people who doesn't know Patrick, I can assure you he always does what he says. And also when he said like he reads a lot of books, he really is a great person who always encourages all of us to share the information, tries to help people. And he's an incredible person. And I'm really happy to have him as a friend of mine and to meet you. Thank you so much for being here today and sharing with your experience.
Yeah. Well, the listeners cannot see how red and shy I am now after listening all these words, but yeah, really so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me. It really means a lot for the confidence and everything and the vibes here. And the listeners, so this is just the beginning, and great stuff are coming.
The beginning.
Great stuff are coming so far, and
Patrick is also coming back.
Stay tuned.
Podcast. Yes.
Yeah, stay tuned, and then all the best. If you have any question, don't hesitate to write down. You can contact the You can contact the podcast platform, ask your questions. If you have recommendations of points you may want them to analyze and next podcast, always don't hesitate to reach out. If you want to be invited to discuss with them, don't hesitate.
Yes,
get in touch.
We can do one more episode about it if there will be questions, specific questions. Thank you very much for listening to this podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to subscribe. See you soon. Bye.